Welcome to Infocus. I'm your host, Tui Fan. Every year when Christmas rolls around, Knott's Berry Farms brings together a uniquely talented group of artisans to the Christmas Crafts Village. There, they share with people from every walk of life how they make their respective art. Join me as we go behind the scenes and learn how these artists turn blocks of wood and pellets of glass into one-of-a-kind pieces of art. Knott's Berry Farm may be known for their rides and scary Halloween haunt, but come Christmas time, they are known for something else entirely, their Christmas Crafts Village. Located in the ghost town area of the beloved theme park, vendors from all over the country have come to sell everything from wreaths to candles to sculptures and vases. It is free to the public Monday through Thursday with live demonstrations at certain times. One of these vendors is a glass artist by the name of Charles Keeling. He has been in the business for over 24 years, and here he shows us how he makes incredible art with heat, science, and skill.
So what I have here is a blowpipe. It's about 52 inches long, and I've already preheated the end of it. You see there's a little bit of black fuzzy there, that's carbon, and that'll make bubbles. So I need to wipe that off, and it didn't all come off with the water, so I'm going to use a little wet newspaper here. And these wet newspapers we call blocks. I'm going to be doing a little bit of shaping with that. Germans and Eastern Europeans use wooden blocks. Italians use almost all metal tools. Californians, we like newspaper. Okay, so we've got a little bit of temperature in the end of the pipe. This is going to enable the molten glass to stick to the metal. If you don't preheat the tip of the pipe, the glass won't stick to it. So in here we have molten glass, and it is hotter than 2100 degrees right now. I just made glass last night, converted sand and soda ash and the minerals and oxides to make glass. So this glass right now is a little bit hotter than I like to work with. And you notice I keep turning the pipe in an effort to keep that material on center. So I'm going to use the steel table now to squeeze a little bit of the glass off the end. And as I bring the handle up, I'll be shaping a little bit. And then I cap the end with my thumb. And if you watch the glass, you see how that air bubble shot out in there. So what I did was I trapped a little bit of air into the pipe. And at that point, the hot metal down at this end takes over, heating up that air inside, causing it to expand. Can't leave the pipe because I had my thumb over the end. It drives the air out into the glass. And by chilling the pipe like this, it's just going to allow me to put my hand closer to the glass, or in scientific terms, we can think of it as being able to move the pivot point closer to the load, which makes it seem lighter. Right? If you have your pivot point way back, things seem heavy and awkward. Now we notice that the glass has changed appearance now. It's cooled down quite significantly. It's no longer glowing orange, and we can't really even see any red in the head of the pipe. So that's telling me that we're down to about 1100 degrees or so. And by tapping the glass, the material against the steel table that we call a marvering table, that really lets me know how rigid it is. I'm going to come back on over to the table here. So, and that's pretty much going to be all the color that I'm going to use in this piece. This is the reheating chamber that I'm standing in front of right now. It's used strictly to bring the material back to the molten state. In this particular instance, what I need to do is melt all that colored glass nice and smooth before I take my final dip of clear molten glass. And you notice I'm constantly turning the pipe in an effort to keep that material on center. If I stop, right, it just sags. So I need to keep that centered up. So now those little chunks of blue glass almost look black. It's just because they're so densely pigmented. It's kind of like printing ink. When you get printing ink straight out of the can, even the yellow looks black. So because I have more material on the end of the blowpipe now, I have to wait just a little bit longer for it to cool down. I need to really make sure that this is rigid. This part of the process being a lot like making a dip candle, in that I have a core and I have molten material. And I'm going to dip that core down into the molten material. It's very important that this core be structurally sound, that there be thickness to the wall, and that it's cooled off enough. Come on over, check that. Sounds fairly rigid. We're going to go back over and take our next gather of glass. So as I said earlier, this is called the marvering plate, and that word marver is closely related to the word marble. This is because the ancient Romans, the Venetians, didn't have the technology to make steel, much less large sheets of steel. But as we know, they were very adept marble carvers or stone carvers. So they made their marvering tables out of marble. It's very important to have that groove in there, that pinched in area, as this is what's going to allow me to separate the glass from the stainless steel. At the end of the process, I'm going to have to place the glass object into an annealing oven so it can go through a slow, controlled cooling process. Okay, so that's about as much size as I'm going to get out of this. So you might want to chop for a moment. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a glass disc onto the table and pick it up on the end of the bubble. That's what we call a cookie foot. So, and then we'll just let this gather set up a little bit. And this is called a cookie foot because this little dab of glass here, it's kind of like a cookie. Got the disc on there. And this is a cherry wood paddle that I'm using. And they use cherry wood or fruit woods because they have a very low amount of tar or resin in them. And it doesn't scum the glass when I make contact. So I'm going to give this a short heat in the glory hole. Let me give this just a short heat to even it out. So this part of the process, the transferring, is sometimes referred to as punting up. Hang the piece there, and then I'll go get a little dab of glass. Now right now what I'm doing is I'm using the table to chill as well as to shape this small amount of glass. If I were to just attach this right now, it would weld, become a permanent attachment to the piece, and when I go to detach it into the annealing oven, it'll crack. So right now I'm just waiting for this to cool down a little bit. Then chilling it some more using a metal file. Okay, so now this rod that's in my right hand is going to become the axle for the piece. So I adjust that, make sure that it's on center, chill that jack line, stress that area out. And that allows me to break the piece off of the blowpipe. And then it also allows me to turn the piece around in the flame of the glory hole. big. I think I'm going to want to use those. Okay, so I'm going to go to the hole. I'm going to open one of the doors, and then I'll come back here and pick these up and grab the rim of the piece. We're going to use a little heat, a little centrifugal force. We're going to change the shape of this piece rather dramatically. Okay, so now we've got it spun out, but we want to make that clamshell. So we catch a corner, and we catch a corner, we catch a corner, we catch a corner, and a corner, and we've got a clamshell. Okay, so now this is the point where I turn to the crowd and I say, tacos! Anybody want tacos? Okay, last thing I need to do is detach this piece from the punty rod. So we're going to mosey on over into the corner here. You place the object into the oven and then strike the punty rod, and that breaks the punty. And that is the process of European offhand glass blowing in a nutshell, or a little bit longer than a nutshell. But there's your broken punty. The piece is inside the oven. It'll sit in there overnight, and that slow controlled cooling process is what we call annealing, which is the opposite of tempering glass.
Pretty amazing how easy they make it look.
Coming up after the break, we'll show you more of the amazing things they have to offer at Knott's Berry Farm's Christmas Crafts Village. You definitely don't want to miss it. Stay with us.